Hello, everyone. Welcome to another live with Movie Talk at PressPlay Cinema. Today we have an amazing guest. She is a prestigious publicist, and we are about to know a lot about this industry. Obviously, everyone that tunes in knows a little bit more, but what if we get the tea from inside? Let's see. Now, let me lower this volume a little bit so that you guys can hear what Miss Lauren has to say. Well, this is a publicist. She is working right now with Paramount Studios, and her name is Lauren Woulard. How are you doing, Lauren?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm great. Very nice to finally meet you.
I know. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to chat with you all.
Yeah, normally what I do is I put in a video of what you're capable of and stuff like that, but that's
Okay.
mostly with filmmakers and musicians and stuff like that. So I felt a little troubled on what to present when it comes to you as a publicist. So I was like, let's do something. She will most possibly give us a very graphic idea of what is the
Yeah.
world of the publicity. Let's go. And just for you guys to know, again, our guest today is Lauren Woulard. Now, people that know me here, I am very, very straight to the point. So let's go for our first question. How do you approach marketing strategies for a company?
Wow. Yes. So I will say for us, here at Paramount, our everything is kind of very like compartmentalized, I would say. So we actually have a marketing team that works in-house that we work very closely with. So we work closely with them when we're thinking about like the press and publicity that we want to do for all of our shows. And how we approach our strategies is just working closely with the people who are like the production and who actually like worked to put the show together, the directors, the executive producers. Those are the people that that help us really get into the nitty and gritty of what the show or the film is going to be about. What are the storylines and angles? We also read scripts beforehand. So that gives us an idea of what exactly we want to go after. Like, what story do we want to tell about this show? Um, that helps us craft like our messaging and our storylines, and then after that we work with a multitude of different people to kind of like deliver on those. And so we look at feedback from the audience. We work very closely with like our actors and our cast to kind of see like what they're interested in doing, and what they think about their role, and the show to kind of say, okay, this person's role is he's going to be the villain or what have you. So this is how we should approach telling his story, or this is the kind of target audience we should target to get stories about him out. So it's a bunch of people working together, but honestly we really rely heavily on like our directors, the producers, the people who are actually there shooting the project, because they help us to get an idea and a sense of like what the project is going to be about.
Okay. I have a piggyback question for that, two actually.
Sure.
So when it comes to everything that you just shared with us, would it be fair to say that the following of the artist has a lot to do with the marketing of the projects, and that may be something that will be taken in consideration for the cast members that are part of the project?
The following of the artists, like the actors.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. When we market this project and we know the name or the actors that we have that are going to be in this show and that we're going to be working with, we definitely have to take into account like who they are, their fan base, what what their brand is, because that helps tell us like where their fan base is, who likes them, and what kind of like publications or magazines that we can pitch for them. And I'll just, say if you're working with a male actor, and he's a really well-known male actor, and he's extremely buff, and people he's he's always kind of talking about, I don't know, like fitness, or he's really known for being a very good looking actor, and he plays a lot of action roles, and he's that already tells me that I can pitch him for magazines that might focus on like health and fitness, or like things like that, because that speaks to his brand and like what he's known
Mm,
for. Um so yeah, I mean, making sure that you're aware of, and like the actors that you're working with, that's extremely important. And most of the time you'll be introduced to their personal team. Like every talent or celebrity, they have a personal team that represents them, a personal manager, assistant, a personal publicist. You will work with them a lot of times because they'll be able to give you and tell you about their client.
so, for that second question, with all that you're telling me right now, do you feel that Paramount won't take too long to adhere the powers of AI in their system when it comes to analytics and checking on people's emotions, um, the way they create engagement and stuff like that? Do you think that's something that's coming up soon, or it's already in the works?
I mean, I would say, I mean, I'm not completely sure because, those, it's so far from like what I do, the powers that be who decide all those things. It's so far separated from what I do. But I can definitely tell you that I think just across the board in the industry, every company is going to be looking to like instrument that sooner than later. AI is definitely making its stance in this industry, and you can see that it's going to be here to stay. So I definitely think every company is thinking about that, and how, what are the advantages or what are the pros or cons of working with AI. But I definitely think it's something that's going to shape the industry, and we're going to have to figure out ways to um, work with it at some point.
I think it's something rich. It may be a little, out of touch because it's not what we're used to, but it
Right.
is the future. So at the end of the day, that's what we're looking at. And when it comes to progress and humanity and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So it's like
definitely. I
starting to be a
totally
baby
agree.
again. Let's start walking again. Let's learn AI
Yeah.
from the very beginning of its development. And I think it would be a great tool for all artists out there. What is your own opinion when it comes to the use of AI in the entertainment business?
I'm gonna be honest, I haven't educated myself a lot with AI, and I actually haven't even used it myself just yet. I have a lot of friends who I know have personally used it, like in their day to day in their work, and from what I know from them, there seems to be pros in that it helps make them more efficient and what they do. So, they seem to have more time to focus on the things that like truly matter, or they can better use more of themselves to put towards larger strategy than spending time editing or correcting a document or something like that. So from the things that I've personally heard from people that I know, they seem to have pros and cons, but more pros with using it. But I can't say that I've used it myself, or even like, I will say I'm the part of the people that's behind on being educated about AI and all of its benefits. So I definitely still have more learning to do myself about the benefits, the pros and the cons of AI.
Well, lucky for you, it's starting. So you have time. Let's
Definitely.
go to our second question. Our second question is, can you share any recent successful campaigns that you have spearheaded?
Yes, for sure. So, just within this past year in 2023, I lead. I'm one of the co-leads for the publicity campaign for the Video Music Awards, which most of you guys know abbreviated as the VMAs over here at MTV, and we had an amazingly successful show last year for 2023. With the different artists and the acts we had, it was extremely diverse, extremely global. We had, from K-pop to hip hop to the hottest pop acts, and really excited that we were able to do some really fun things with the campaign, such as, Paramount. One great that's great about our company is we're so large and we have so many different brands. So, you know, I don't know if you guys are familiar with like CBS Mornings, the really popular national talk show CBS Mornings. That's a part of our brand, as well as Entertainment Tonight. That's a part of our brand. And so we always like leverage opportunities like that with our own in-house media partners. And we were just able to create some really large stories. Our viewership and ratings, they topped the previous year. And so we had like the largest ratings yet. So yeah, just really excited for everything we were able to do with that last year.
So that being said, tell me something that you really enjoy about your job as a publicist.
Yeah, sure. I enjoy honestly being able to see something, be a part of something like coming to life and be a part of like crafting that story. Um, I love working on so many different types of projects. One day I can be working on a comedy, the next I'm working on like a drama series, the next I'm working on like a music documentary. So I really love being able to like diversify myself and work on many things, and I love being able to be a part of telling a story that started from like a script and now you're seeing it on your TV screen or on the big film.
I feel that's a very fulfilling experience when you know that you were part of something that was merely just a thought.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So
Yeah.
congratulations to you for that.
Thank you.
Let's go to our third question. What challenges have you faced in promoting brands in a constantly evolving media landscape?
uh Lots. I mean, I think even right now it's like constantly having to pivot and change. It feels like every time you get comfortable and you feel like, okay, I have it down packed, or I know how to navigate this situation or problem, something else arises, and then you have to constantly pivot and change. And so as we're seeing, things are changing, like you said, in the media landscape. We're seeing every day tons of like large publications and media outlets are like, either they're shuttering their print operations, and or they're losing the number of staff that they had, and there's been layoffs here. So you're constantly having to make new relationships because the journalists and the relationships that you've been working with there for years, they're now at different companies, or they're laid off completely, or maybe the publication that you know you've worked with for years is not even there anymore. So it's just, I think that's the real challenge, is that constantly feeling like you have to figure out how to pivot and change your strategy based on what's happening in the industry right now. So I think that's probably a challenge for many of us who are in this industry right now.
On that same note, where do you think, or just give me a few hints of how do you feel would be the right way to approach trust with a new companion in the industry? Let's say, like you just said, we're changing companies and stuff like that. We know that this is a very competitive industry. So, what are tips that you would use upon yourself in order to learn that this person is trustworthy, in order to, open up and share your experience, not just your experience when it comes to the publicist lifestyle, but more about your marketing strategies?
Sure. I think first it's like trial and error, right? I think it's dependent on, having conversations with people very similar to this. And like, I'm a person where, I know most of us this day we're on email, we text, but I always pick up the phone. So I feel like that really helps you get an idea of who a person is when you can sit down and talk to them face to face. You kind of get a feel of people, right? You can always have that feeling. And I also think in this industry, it's a good thing that we all have credentials, right? So I can easily research you. Before I even meet you, I can research you to have a background on who you are. Um, you know, this industry is small, so there's probably people that I know that might know you. I mean, I think doing your homework on either a company or a person that you're networking or meeting with beforehand, do your research. I mean, we're in an age where you can do all the research on a person before even meeting them. You can Google them, you can find their Instagram, their Twitter, their LinkedIn, all of these things. And so I do all of those things before I even go further, no matter what kind of like relationship it is with a person, to be able to like know how I'm going to enter into it and how much I'm going to share or how little I'm going to share.
Yeah, and I think that's smart. That's smart because that way you're not just jumping oblivious to
Right.
an atmosphere that you have no idea what's coming out of it. But at the end of the day, you don't just know about this person, but you know, and might or may or like you have an idea of what they're coming at you with. Like, are you coming when it comes to business? Are you trying to look for business? Are you trying to look for a job? Like all of those things in the background are gonna tell me.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
that's a nice tip. Thank you for that. Um, Question number 4: how do you stay ahead of other brands in such a competitive industry? Can you share some tips to become more proactive in that matter?
Yes, absolutely. That's a great question. I'm a person that I'm always researching like what's going on in the industry. And I think doing very healthy, like competitive analysis is extremely smart, looking at what your competitors are doing and using that information to kind of guide your decisions, because that tells you how you can consistently stay on top and do bigger and better. And for myself, um, I just I make sure that like I utilize my team. I'm very much a team player and very collaborative. And so we always kind of sit and brainstorm. I don't ever come up with any one idea by myself. So I have a team that we work with and we kind of collaborate. I really believe that's the best way to do it because, you know, other people have so many great ideas that you may not have thought of, and so many different
True.
people are creative in so many different areas. And so, yeah, just using that. And I think people a lot of times think that like staying looking at what other people are doing is a bad thing, but it's a way for you to stay aware of what's popular in your industry, right? So you're seeing how someone else did a campaign and how their audience or the audience reacted to that. That can inform you of what is the trend. That's the only way you stay knowledgeable of what the trends are. So I think just like being aware of what the trends are in your industry, but also being creative enough to sit down with your team and kind of brainstorm ways that you can craft that and use that for your specific project or campaign. But like if you're not like staying if you're not following what's going on in your industry, you're already behind. Like reading the news, whatever, however you get your news, whether it's from social media or if you actually like read a newspaper. But like you have to stay up to date on what's current, like what the current trends are.
That's right. That's actually basically it sums it up in a nutshell. Now, question number 5: when trying to work on the popularity of a brand, what do you consider are the main areas to tackle and how?
I think the main areas to tackle are like, what is the brand's voice? I think you have to first figure out like what is your brand voice going to be. And I also think you have to like work on listening to your consumer or listening to your audience, right? Like, you have to figure out, what does the audience love about us? What draws them in? And you have to align that with who you want your brand voice to be. So I always think about like popular brands who they've really nailed it as far as like knowing who they are, knowing like the type of brand they want to be, what they stand for, and also that they listen to their followers. Um, and I'll share one really great thing about, and I know everyone like loves her, and I'm definitely a member of the Beehive, but when Beyonce just launched her Sacred hair care brand, now obviously Beyonce is like not known for being, she's known for being an entertainer, a world class entertainer, not necessarily for having the most popular like products or brands. And so when she first launched it, there was a little bit of a lag or a dull, and people were saying different things about it. People weren't sure. They hadn't even really seen her with like her own natural hair. They hadn't really seen a lot of promotion of
True. It's
it.
like a little questionable of a
It was a
campaign.
little
Yeah.
questionable. It was like, okay, we don't know to trust it or not. And I feel like she went back, she listened to that, and then you started seeing more promotion roll out, that she was like showing her own natural hair care routine. She was, having her mom utilize the products on people. Like, she was taking us into a more personal journey. And I feel like she sat down and she actually listened to what her audience was saying, and what
Mhm.
her followers were saying. And then her team were able to come back and have more promotion that spoke to what their needs are. And so I feel like that's very important in crafting your messaging and campaign. And when you're trying to, create awareness for your brand, you have to listen to your audience, and figure out how to make it authentic to like what you want your brand voice to be.
Right. And that being said, one of the things that I thought, right, because I'm not a publicist, but in my mind, I was like, well, if I was a publicist, one of the first things that I would tackle, it's legal matters. How many legal problems do you have? Do I want to be associated with this?
Yeah,
Because it's going to be a lot of work for me to take to just just sweep this under the rug momentarily, because it always comes to light. So I thought
yeah,
you was going to say something like that. Well, for example, my first one, it would be like, does this person has problems with the audience? Because if it does, then maybe that's not really a good field for me to start
yeah.
working on. Yeah, but at the end of the day, yeah, it is being very important to sit down, look at the audience. I have a executive producer friend of mine that told me, you do not know how to watch films until you sit down, giving your back to the screen and watching the audience.
Yeah,
Once you watch the audience, that's how you're gonna learn how to make a movie right. And I
100%.
was
I
like,
agree.
interesting. That's a really good concept there.
Yeah, for sure. It's great, great feedback.
Yeah, let's go to our question number 6. What advice would you give to aspiring publicists?
Oh gosh, so much of advice, but I would definitely tell them to um get as much experience as possible, and get as much different kind of experience as possible. So, you know, there's publicists for all different kind of things. There's publicists for TV and film. There's publicists for music, for, artists. There's publicists in like corporate, financial. I would say, get a feel for what you really like, and definitely get as much experience as you possibly can on like what type of publicity and communications you want to do. I would definitely say, make sure that you know how to be, this industry, you're going to work with a lot of different types of people. So it's really important that you know how to work in a fast-paced environment. This is not an industry where you have a lot of time to sit and think. You have to be able to understand how to be very like solve a problem, be solutions oriented. And I would definitely say that, this is not a 9 to 5. If you're looking for a job where you're going to have set hours, you don't have to work on the weekends and all things like that, then this probably isn't the industry for you. So I would
I don't
definitely
think publicity ever rests. There's
know.
always something going on every
There's
day.
always something going on. So I would say you really have to, people make it look beautiful, but you really have to decide if this is what you want to do and have the skin for it, because on the other side, it's not as pretty, especially when you're first starting out. So I would definitely tell them to get very comfortable with doing like administrative tasks, because a lot of times when you start out, that is going to be what you're doing.
Is it like an internship?
Yeah, do lots of internships, even volunteer opportunities if there are opportunities to volunteer. And I would say just keep at it. It's one of it can definitely be a tough field, but it's really rewarding when you start making movement in it.
Yeah, I believe you. I mean, I'm talking to you right now, Lauren, so you must have been doing something right. Well, question number 7.
Okay.
How do you balance maintaining the image of a brand while also pushing boundaries creatively? And I know you kind of like brush it on the surface on another question, but if
Mhm.
you have anything else to add to this one question.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's a good question. I even think in my work a lot of times right now, there are things that I'll want to do creatively that, maybe it might not be the right time, or, this might not be the right fit for the project. So I think sometimes it's like figuring out where there can be compromise. Okay, maybe I can't do this huge, big, event or whatever that I want to do, but how can I maybe make it like a bit of a smaller scale, so where it fits and meets, exactly what is needed for this particular project. I think it's about, like, again, I said, like, making sure that like you have to really understand what the brand's like core values and priorities are, because that can help you decide how you can elevate the brand, right? So how can you be creative for a brand that like you don't really understand? And so I think that, that really helps.
Okay, well, thank you for that. That's pretty insightful. When it comes to, let's see, because I have this question right here, but we did touch the AI topic.
Mhm.
Now, I do want to know, in your understanding, question number 8, what trends in marketing do you see shaping the future of the entertainment industry?
Definitely. Yeah, I think like you said, I think AI probably definitely will come into play a lot more in the industry. Man, so many. I definitely think in terms of just social media. I think social media would continue to be really big, and I think that you'll definitely start seeing a lot more social media involved in the entertainment industry. I already feel like we're in a place where we're starting to like integrate it more into campaigns. Digital. I think we're really going to see a push to, especially in publicity. I think we're going to see a real push towards digital, and I mean we're already seeing it where print publications are being shuttered and everything is being pushed to digital. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see how like the digital and social world change the nature of like publicity. I mean, already you're seeing a lot of like interviews and things that can happen on social media, where before historically you saw them in like in actual magazines that you could flip, or now you're seeing there are outlets where they just do, podcasts. I think podcasts will continue to have a real rise in this industry. So I think it's an exciting time. It's scary because change is a little bit scary, but I think it's an
It
exciting
is.
time.
I don't think it's scary. I think the fear comes in the, am I able to adapt?
Yes,
But
yeah,
it's actually really easy to adapt. All you got to do is just a little bit of research,
yeah,
and that's it. You probably have the startup, and then after that, you just keep going into it. And
for
you already
sure.
have a team, so that's perfect for you. When it comes to that in specifically too, because I was checking on AI and stuff like that, how it's advancing in the
Mhm.
industry. And I came up with this because we're just talking right now about the publicist being pushed into electronic and stuff like that. What if, because I feel like this is a probability. What if they design this device, which is like a new era newspaper, and it
Mhm.
changes every day with the today's news? So let's say it's this little long stick. It opens up like a hologram, and it gives you an idea of, hey, which are the news that you want to know of every day. I want this and that. And then every day you're woken up with an alarm and the rundown of all the news of the outlets that you chose. I think that's pretty
Oh, I
close.
love that. It's like all of your favorite outlets in one.
Yeah, it's like you don't even have to, it's right there. It's like, okay, what's happening today? And it's like speaking to you, well, today this happened and this is going on and ta da da da. And you're like, okay, well, thank you. And all of the while you've been doing your coffee, you haven't had to sit down and
Oh, that's
check or
perfect.
anything.
I would love that. I would love that. You don't even have to lift a finger. I mean, I think we will all love that. But who knows? I mean, somebody may even be working on that as we speak right now. I mean, I
I'm
don't doubt that. I feel
pretty
like
sure.
I can see something like that in the very near future.
Yeah, well, if they are not and they see this interview, give me my royalties, okay?
I know.
Okay, now let's go to our question. How do you measure this? Question number 9. So, how do you measure the success of your marketing efforts for the company?
Sure, yeah. So we measure the success. Usually, obviously, we have a team that strictly deals with data. So basically, they strictly run numbers, and they are the ones that tell us how our films, like how our TV shows or our films are doing in terms of like numbers. What was the viewership like? So that's how we rate our success, is seeing what the viewership was like. If did we break any records, and then also we rate it by seeing, the popular, we listen to the chatter from the audience. We listen to what's going on social media and people saying how much they loved it. Also, press are always talking about it in different, they put it in different roundups. And so all of those things matter, like, the chatter that we hear about it online, what our press friends are saying. Um, as well as like what happens if does the show get renewed for another season. Like that's another way for us to know our success. If it gets renewed, that means it was obviously very well received, and that the campaign was great. So those are some ways we kind of measure our success.
Okay, awesome. So, question number 8. What is the difference between PR and publicity?
It's essentially the same thing, to be honest. PR, publicity, they're the same thing. I would say the true difference is between communications and publicity. Because communications can be, it's a number of things, right? It's not just publicity. Publicity strictly focuses on, managing your client or your brand's image through media awareness. So it's how it's your relationship with the, excuse me, the public, through the media. And when you're talking about communications, that can involve like communications can involve marketing, it can involve social media, it involves publicity, even advertising is a type of communications. It's all different types of communications rolled into one. But publicity is strictly focused on how the public sees your brand or your company or product through media relations. So through interviews that they're seeing on like national morning shows, through like magazines that they're opening up, how are when they're reading those things, how is that shaping their view of your company?
Well, Talking about that, because you did say that it's kind of the same. It just has a small
Yeah,
difference.
PR and publicity. So PR, public relations, and publicity, they're the same exact thing. There's no difference from public relations and publicity. They are the same thing. The true difference is between communications and public relations.
Okay. We were seeing this series a while ago. It was called Idol in, I think it was Max, with the Weekend and Johnny Depp's daughter.
Okay.
So, in this film, they depicted PRs to be more like the ones that will think really, really fast over how to hide a gossip that may or may not be right.
Yeah.
Is so when it comes to PR, if you have the knowledge, of course, not telling you to, because I know you're a publicist. So when it comes to the PR, is that something that's mostly their how can I put this in word, like, is that their main homework is to protect the image of the artist?
Yeah, that's especially that's exactly what we do as publicists. So in publicists, we are public relations practitioners.
Okay.
Publicity is just a shorter way of saying it, but publicity and public relations essentially mean the exact same thing. So it's not two different roles really. It's one role. So as a publicist, I perform the act of being a public relations practitioner. Like that is what I study. That is what I do. Um, and so that is basically what you're doing. You are hired to protect the brand's image. So everything about the brand's image falls under you, whether it's positive or whether it's negative. And sometimes you do have what we call crisis PR, crisis communications, where there's something that has leaked out about a project. And I know a lot of times we deal with that where news about a project or that we're working on might have leaked out. So, a writer or a journalist might have gotten news that someone was going to be casted in the project before we could announce it. They got leaked information about the premiere date, and we haven't announced the premiere date yet. So it's
How do
our
you guys
job.
get to the bottom of this? Can you give me an example of how do you guys get to the bottom of who the rat was?
Well, sometimes you can never get to the bottom because obviously no one will say who did it, who said what. And so at that point, sometimes, these things happen. And with so many people working on the project, you never can really know who it was because obviously you have so many people that are working on filming it. You have the cast, and then you have extras. An extra may have leaked it. You know what I mean? The casting agency you don't know who could leak something like that. But the way that we get down to fixing is it depends on what the exact issue is. But a lot of times it's us working with our higher executives to figure out what are the facts, like what's gossip and rumor versus what are the facts. Sometimes we have to work with our legal teams. It's called our business affairs and legal team to figure out, okay, what's the contract, like legally what we should do. And it takes an army of people to either we're going to put out a statement or this is not even worth our time. We're going to ignore it because it'll die down in a few days. Like, you know what I mean? Some things that's not,
Yeah.
you don't even care to respond to because it's just hearsay. So, we approach it from different angles. It depends on how big or how small the issue is.
Okay, perfect. So that being said, how can, obviously you're working Paramount right now, so nobody can really inquire you right now. But if they wanted to make an appointment to get some advice from your publicist expertise, how can they find you?
So I am the same name on every single social platform I have. It's MISS Lauren Page, like PIAGE. So you can definitely follow me there. I actually do share a lot there. So a lot of times I'll do stories and I'll share different things, different articles or tidbits I find. Also if you find me on LinkedIn, Lauren, my last name is Woulard, WOULARD. So that's where I'm at on LinkedIn. And again, I share a lot on there professionally. Probably more than I share more professionally on LinkedIn than I do on my social channels. But if you follow me on any of those, I'm consistently giving out advice and sharing about opportunities.
That's perfect. Thank you very much. Now, we have culminated this interview, but I still have two more segments to go. This
Okay.
one right here, artistic advice. In general, you have worked with a lot of artists, I'm pretty sure, and I like to imagine you like just surrounded by a lot of people, just giving you a lot of work and being exhausted, but making that moolah, you know? So, what is something that you can advise artists to do in when it comes from your publicist eye?
Yeah, for sure. I would definitely advise artists to make sure that you've done, like, when you're trying to put out a project, always then make sure that you've done like all your homework. I think it's so important to make sure before, like, you need to get a team. Like, you need to get a team of people that can like help you navigate and put out whatever you're trying to do. Whether that's like a manager, a management team, I don't know, a creative partner, a writing partner. Like, I've seen so many people in this industry just have great talent, but they couldn't get to where they wanted to get just because they didn't have the right resources and they didn't have the right knowledge. So I think that like educating yourself about how this industry works and what kind of team that you would need, I think that's like very, very important to like educate yourself as much as you can about this industry and how the business of this industry runs. Because if you're paying attention to everything that's going on in the industry right now, the business of how this industry runs is changing like rapidly. We're seeing more mergers than anything before. So I think it's really important like to know the business and like how this industry runs, especially so that you're not taken advantage of too.
Right, too. That's very important considering all the stuff that's going on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, that being said, on that same note, um, I want to say thank you because you're a sweetheart. You're a sweetheart. I came in this interview
Sweetheart.
calling you a publicist, and you did not say anything, girl.
It's okay.
I just like, did I just added an extra cyst there? Because that was not
My
right.
mom does the same thing. That's why I think I just like overlooked it because I was like, my mom does the same thing. So
Yeah, I think it's part of it. Also, it's been a long day so far. I'm not sure how it's been for you, but I know you've been traveling a lot, and
yes,
I really hope that you had your rest and got that
I
bubble bath I told you
I
about.
did. Like, this past weekend was crazy. So I'm just really thankful for you for being flexible because I could not function on Friday.
Hey, self-care overall,
Self
self-care.
care.
If you need to have a break to sit down and get all your thoughts together and get all of your work stuff organized, you might as well do it, because if you don't do it, nobody else is going to do it for you.
You're
So
right
take
about
your
that.
time. That's really good. Now we have come to the last segment of this show. We have free speech here in United States, but here at Press Play Cinema with Movie Talk, we have free art speech. So
Okay.
this is your moment and your panel. It's open for you to say whatever you'd like to say about your projects, the things that you're working on, things that you would like to promote. So go ahead.
I have so many things I would like to promote that I can't promote just yet because we haven't announced them. But what I will say is, I'm really, really passionate about, especially like diversity in this industry and making sure that like the stories, diverse storytelling, and the stories of all people are shown and put out there. So I really just want to say I would encourage you all, like, if you come from whatever background, like, please, please, please make sure that you're telling your story and putting it out there, because right now, at a time when they're really trying to silence voices and silence diverse voices, and if you've been looking at what's happening in different companies where they're shuttering their DEI programs. It's more important now than ever for us to keep making sure that stories from all different cultures, all different backgrounds are heard. So I really just want to use this moment to encourage people from different backgrounds and cultures to like keep putting our stories and keep putting your stories and your work out there so that we can keep doing the work to make this industry diverse.
Thank you so much, Lauren, for that. That was beautiful. I'm completely advocate for inclusion, diversity, and one of the things I do want to add, there's people that act like, oh well, you got hired because you're this color, because
Yeah.
you have this background, and they need that diversity hire.
Mhm.
Make sure you're not part of that bunch, people. Make sure that you, just like Lauren said, do your research.
Mhm.
Make sure that you are on top of everything so that they cannot use those type of things against you, because if you got there, I'm pretty sure it's because you put the work and dedication
Absolutely.
to be in that spot,
Absolutely.
and you deserve it completely. So thank you so much for
Absolutely.
this, friends.
You're welcome. This was great, and happy to be an inspiration for anyone. And thank you so much for what you're doing. This is so needed, and I'm really inspired that you're doing this. And keep it up, girl.
Yep, that's the slogan, there to inspire.
Yes.
So thank you so much, Lauren, for coming today at Movie Talk with PressPlay Cinema. I'll see you soon again, right?
Yes, you definitely will. Real life this time.
Yeah. Be safe, okay?
Bye, guys.
Thank you for coming. Hey guys, that was everything for today at Movie Talk with PressPlay Cinema. That was Publicist. Sorry, I keep doing it. Why do I keep doing that? Okay, this was Publicist Lauren Woulard from Paramount Studios. Guys, she is an amazing person, sweetheart. All the advices that you need when it comes to good marketing plans. Guys, sit down, make your research, be on top of that homework, and find what really adds value to your brand. Okay. So if you missed this interview, please rewatch it at YouTube with Lauren Woulard and find the joy and the gems in all of those advices. Okay, guys, I'll see you next week. Wait, not next week. Yeah, I'll see you in like a few days. Okay. I just haven't like show you guys who I got next, but